I'm hot. I'm annoyed. And the New York Mets bullpen is fucking terrible. That has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about today. I was just watching the game last night in the top of the 8th inning, and it's laughable how the Mets bullpen blew the game wide open. 2-2 going into the top of the 8th inning. 7-2 Phillies by the end of the inning. Good thing the Braves won in a very late rain-delayed game because of Brian McCann and his heroics. I'd like to be at least 8.5 games up going into the All-Star break, but fuck the New York Mets. They're good for nothing. It's hot. It's humid. I'm annoyed. That makes for a good off the script. I'm annoyed because I'm hot. I'm annoyed because I'm humid. I'm annoyed for a variety of other reasons. But I want to talk about this battle between AEW and WWE. It's very real, people. It's very real. It is picking up steam. It's going to culminate and take place officially in October when AEW moves to TNT and WWE moves to Fox and Fox Sports. I don't understand why people say AEW is not competition. I don't understand that. The AEW effect is 100% real. 100% real. The AEW effect has been in effect well before WrestleMania. I think the most notable name to talk about AEW was Stephanie McMahon. Now, some guy, some random, stopped Stephanie McMahon. I believe she was in the airport. I don't know where she was exactly. Maybe she was in New York City. I have no idea. But regardless of where she was stopped by some interviewer. And this person asked Stephanie McMahon what she thought of the AEW brand taking the field and competing with WWE. She didn't mention AEW by name. She didn't say AEW. She didn't use those initials. She didn't mention the words All Elite Wrestling. She simply stated that competition is going to make everybody better. You can dissect that however you want, folks. You could decode that however you want. She directly stated, without directly mentioning AEW, that AEW is competition. Competition is going to make everybody better. This person asked about AEW. He asked Stephanie McMahon about AEW. She said competition is going to make everybody better. By logic, Stephanie McMahon is deeming AEW competition. Roman Reigns is the latest in the WWE slave market to state that AEW is not competition. He can join the lines of Batista. He can join Seth Rollins and everybody else that mentioned AEW not being competition. Roman Reigns, the big dog, mentions AEW not being competition. Roman Reigns is very aware of what's going on in the pro wrestling world. He knows of Jon Moxley and his whereabouts and his successes. But Roman Reigns is not worried about AEW. While speaking to the Sportster, Roman Reigns straight up said AEW is no competition to WWE. He says this, and I quote, I'll just say this. It's also new, and it is what it is, with Ambrose leaving and popping up over there. Competition? No. There's no competition. WWE, we as a brand know exactly what we're doing. We have the best talent in the world. There's no comparing. I say that with firm confidence. All the way from the top to the very bottom. We are world class all the way through. You're a world-class organization that is so scared that you're locking down the likes of Mike Kanellis to a 5-year contract for the sake that they don't go anywhere. World-class, you say. So world-class that you add remaining months to someone's contract that is been out with injury. He's ready to come back. He wants to show up on a brand. He wants plans for himself. Then you don't give him plans and you don't give him a brand. He then goes on social media and quits the company, asks for his release. You deny that release. You go out there and say that I have no plans for Luke Harper because he can't cut a Southern accent. And then add 6 months on top of his existing contract because you don't want him to go anywhere. Simple. Yeah, so world class that you give the Revival a contract of 5 years, they turn it down, and then you proceed to bury them on national television. So world class that you take the Evolve anniversary show, the 10-year anniversary show, after all these years of debating whether or not you want to put another promotion on the WWE Network, these minor league promotions in the eyes of Vince McMahon, and then you put it on the network on the same night, in the same time slot as AEW, Fight for the Fallen. So world class that you book NXT UK to be on the same exact day as AEW's second major pay-per-view, All Out, in Chicago. And then you hide the fact that you did that on the same day, on the same fucking night, wherever you guys are watching it. And then you make excuses as to why you did it. Oh, we were in negotiations with the venue. It's been planned before WrestleMania. Sure it was. Sure it was. We were trying to lock down plans for that venue. Sure you were, Trips. Sure you were. Folks, I don't give a shit who you are. If you believe anything that comes out of these corporate puppets' mouth, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. Roman Reigns is supposed to say that AEW is not competition. Why anybody is asking a lifer in WWE what he thinks of AEW is just as big an idiot as the people spewing the fact that AEW is not competition. Why are you even wasting your breath when you know the exact response that you are going to get? Of course, AEW is competition. Of course. Look at everything that WWE has done. Look at everything that they've done as far as hiring Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. You mean to tell me that's not a move with the AEW effect running wild? You could just look to that excuse alone and say that AEW is competition. Why else would WWE do that? Because if AEW didn't exist, then Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff wouldn't be associated with Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. WWE wouldn't have a need for change. The quality of TV would remain the same. Everything that is changing in WWE, all the 5-year contracts and the large amounts of money that are going to this talent that don't deserve it, that clearly don't deserve it. Mike Kanellis deserves $500,000, right? Or whatever it was, $250,000. It was reported as $500,000. Mojo Rawley signing 5 years. Jinder Mahal signing 5 years. You're locking down talent to this large sum of money for what? Because you're afraid of bolstering the AEW roster. Everything that WWE has done, 5-year contracts, keeping existing talent from leaving right now that asks for their release by adding months on top of their contract, it all has to do with AEW. Yes, there's a reason why that is all being done. It's not because WWE, well, I guess it is, because they would do this even if AEW wasn't in the picture. WWE could be the biggest, pettiest fucks that you've ever seen. But the reason why they are doing this is because they right now are in competition. Look at LAX. Look at LAX, Santana and Ortiz. This is another form of competition, folks. LAX just dropped the Impact Tag Team titles to the North yesterday. Now, they were supposed to fight the Rascals at Slammiversary. I don't know if that's going to be a triple threat match. It may end up being just a standard 2-on-2 tag team match with the North and the Rascals at Slammiversary. LAX is rumored to be heading to AEW. The other rumor is that WWE is heavily interested in LAX for whatever reason, whether it's to bring them to the main roster or to put them down in NXT and have Triple H mold them into what they are already, the greatest tag team in the world. You could probably say that Triple H is going to take them to even bigger heights, and they're going to be even bigger than they are now, which is always the case when someone goes into NXT and Triple H takes control of them. It's been done for the past 5 years. That is the spirit of competition, folks. AEW wants, WWE is going to throw their name in the hat. That is competition. A bidding war for the talents and the services of Santana and Ortiz is competition. Do not ever believe anybody when they say WWE is not afraid of AEW and that AEW is not competition. We all know that AEW cannot be WWE. They probably will never be the WWE. The WWE is a global household brand. They are a global brand that reaches 160 different countries. Nobody will ever do what the WWE juggernaut is currently doing. We all understand that. And I want to hope that Roman Reigns means that. But I don't think he means that. I honestly think that everybody in the WWE has it ingrained in their minds that AEW is not competition. Everything that I just mentioned, to what I mentioned with LAX, to the locker room who might be disgruntled and don't want any part of WWE because they don't trust WWE. They want a new lease on life. They want to go somewhere where they'll be respected and have some sort of creative freedom. That's competition. Of course that's competition, because now it's in WWE's best interest to make everybody happy. How does WWE make everybody happy? They just throw the green around and think that's going to make everybody happy. It's not. Never believe anybody that says AEW is not competition. They are supposed to say that. They are programmed to say that. And you will start hearing that more and more and more every single week as we go into October. The war with AEW is very real. It's been reported all week. Several instances from Roman Reigns to Booker T to WWE pulling off a major counter move that is yet to be seen when AEW delivers All Out in Chicago. AEW is not looking to take down WWE. They never made it about taking down WWE. They want to deliver their brand, and they want to give you a true alternative to what WWE is not giving you. A real sports-like feel for their TV product. They want to put more of a sports annotation on pro wrestling instead of sports entertainment. That's fine. That's fine. They know what the fans want, and the fans want that. The fans don't want to see this watered-down, sponsored-filled, fucking network directive sports entertainment bullshit. That's why AEW has so much momentum going for themselves right now. And WWE right now is trying to play catch-up. WWE is changing their brand. They're changing their mentality. Heyman and Bischoff, they're looking to shed the TV PG. We've seen middle fingers and explosions and Corey Graves saying, holy shit. Why do you think that's being done? Why do you think that's being done? Because they want to feel a little bit more real. And why do they want to feel a little bit more real? It's because they got AEW knocking on their doorstep. Dave Meltzer discussed the current pro wrestling war during Wrestling Observer Radio. Obviously, WWE booking Evolve 131, their 10-year anniversary show on the WWE Network on the same night as Fight for the Fallen wasn't a mistake. But it won't be the last move that Vince McMahon's company makes against AEW either. That's fine. You could do that. I am not surprised that Vince McMahon made that move anyway. But then don't have your talent go out there and say AEW is not competition when you clearly are making them competition by doing moves like this. Yeah, the war is very real, says Meltzer, and obviously everyone knows that. I mean, the Evolve thing, If that didn't tell everyone, and again, there are other things, and it's going to happen constantly. We'll be talking about that forever because that's how Vince is. It's like when you get into a war with Vince, you have to be willing to fight back as well. End quote. And it's going to get worse. And I look forward to it because I've wanted one thing and one thing only to come out of this, and that is for AEW to push WWE shit in and make them realize that what they've been doing for all these years has been garbage, has been driving fans away. It's not good. It is not exciting. And they have ruined talent to a point where I can't even mention how much talent that they've ruined. And I want them to get better. And the sad thing is, it's taken WWE all this time, and it's taken WWE to realize that AEW is a real thing, and it's taken WWE to have AEW come on in and invade for them to get better. Which goes to show you, on the other side of the coin, how much WWE doesn't give a shit about their fans and doesn't give a shit about the quality of their TV product. So, it's sad that WWE is in the state that it's in now, because AEW is clearly pushing them to be better, and AEW is kind of exposing WWE for being the embarrassments that they really are. That's the way I see it. WWE is expected to pull off a major counter move. Meltzer also dived into this and stated that WWE is expected to pull even more countermeasures against AEW, and he used the word shortly. Does anyone's guess what this could mean? He says this, and I quote, "I've been told to expect another major counter move by WWE shortly." End quote. I don't know what that means. WWE could do something with the TNT debut. They could do something with the All Out show. They've already done so with NXT UK Cardiff. I don't know what else they could do, really. Maybe sign CM Punk, which I know is not going to happen. I give that 0% chance of happening. The only major counter move would be something like that. What else are you going to do? You're going to get Stone Cold Steve Austin to make a miraculous comeback to the WWE? I wouldn't really be interested in that. I've heard rumblings that WWE wants Steve Austin on SmackDown Live in some capacity when they go to Fox Sports. I've heard rumors that WWE wants Donald Trump on SmackDown Live in October. I don't know what the major counter move could be. But again, competition. If AEW wasn't competition, then WWE would be ignoring them like they ignored Impact Wrestling all those years. WWE thought anything of AEW like we are led to believe. Oh, they're nothing. Oh, they're going to end up like WCW. Oh, they're going to be nothing more than a WWE landfill of rejects. If AEW wasn't competition, we wouldn't be hearing in the news that there's a major counter move being planned against AEW. Major counter moves equals competition. Again, competition, folks. Booker T backed out of StarCast and any inclusion on All Out because he thinks the war with AEW is very real. All Out sold out in 15 minutes. Booker T was supposed to be a part of StarCast and reportedly scheduled to be at All Out. I don't know what that could mean for Booker T. Maybe he would have been there and they would have went about it the same way that they did Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret the Hitman Hart, a beloved world champion, unveiled the world championship for AEW. Maybe Tony Khan was going to have tag team championships made because he mentioned several times in the last couple of weeks that AEW's TV show and All Out are going to be heavily focused on what they're doing with the tag team championships. There's a big tournament taking place in October on TNT. Maybe they were going to give Booker T the ceremony of unveiling the tag team championships. I don't know. I don't know what his inclusion on All Out would have been, but he pulled out of that and StarCast. Dave Meltzer reports that after agreeing to be at the event, Booker T has pulled out of AEW's next big pay-per-view. It was noted that this move was made after Booker T realized that the war between AEW and WWE is very real. Booker T, after agreeing to come, has pulled out of All Out. He evidently said when pulling out that he found out that the war was very real and he didn't want to be in the middle of it. This is very interesting. Did Booker T pull out on his own? Or did WWE get to Booker T and have him forcefully removed from the AEW StarCast and All Out events? Booker T probably made the right decision. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. WWE has did this with the last StarCast. Kurt Angle, they pulled Tom McGee, or Bret Hart and Tom McGee. WWE did that whole thing with that, right? They pulled The Undertaker from StarCast when Conrad had already announced The Undertaker being there. Like I mentioned, the Bret Hart and Tom McGee thing, WWE aired, and I'm sure it was just a coincidence, right? They aired their own Tom McGee Bret Hart special after all these years, when StarCast announced that for the first time ever, Bret and Tom McGee would be sitting down talking about the match, that historical unseen match, showing the match in its entirety at StarCast. And I'm sure WWE did this just because, and had nothing to do with StarCast. So Booker T pulled out because the war is very real. It's getting very real. And I'm sure WWE pulled him. And it's the same reasons why they pulled everything else. And it's the same reasons why WWE has countered every other move that StarCast or AEW has done in the last couple of months. Not a coincidence, folks. WWE is treating this as major competition. Roman Reigns, we talked about Roman Reigns, saying AEW is not competition. Roman Reigns opens up about Jon Moxley leaving WWE for AEW. During an interview with Sports Illustrated, Roman Reigns, they've been all over the place, by the way. During an interview with Sports Illustrated, Roman Reigns opened up about how their working relationship might have changed, and he'll always have love for Jon Moxley. He says, and I quote, "I don't think our working relationship is going to be what it used to be, but I'll always love that guy. He'll always be my close friend, and I wish him the best. I wish the best for him, his family, his wife, and we'll always be friends for the rest of our lives. We have a brotherhood, so I'm always cheering for him. I've shared so many great moments with Ambrose or Mox. We love each other well beyond the wrestling world, and it will always be that way." End quote. Roman Reigns went about Jon Moxley in a respectful way. Seth Rollins proceeded to throw him under the bus. Tale of two worlds, folks. Tale of two worlds. Speaking of Roman Reigns, he and Seth Rollins are set to lead the charge against AEW in the WWE locker room. Now, we talked about everything being real. We talked about how WWE tends to think that AEW is not competition, but every action that they do and every action that is reported in the wrestling world as far as WWE against AEW says otherwise. Now, Brad Shepard is reporting that WWE is going to start cracking down on any social media activity that WWE superstars are engaging in with AEW. Really? So I guess this also falls under the pretenses of not competition. And speaking to a high-level source in WWE, I was told, he says, that the so-called war coming this fall is going to get very, very real, very, very fast for the talent. All of the liking AEW tweets, following them, sharing their stuff, and being all buddy-buddy will not be tolerated much longer. End quote. If WWE superstars didn't think that the company noticed, they do, especially when it makes headlines. Yes, Sasha Banks has made a habit of doing this, and she's not the only one. It was also said that superstars might underestimate Vince McMahon's ability to be, and I quote, petty as fuck. And that might be an understatement. To assist with these changes backstage, it is also reported that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are leading the charge in the WWE locker room. In the past, whenever a superstar was asked about AEW, they just talked about how good competition is. Because it's competition. Now, Roman Reigns is saying that AEW is no competition for WWE, as he laughs in the pissant t-shirt company's face. Seth Rollins also did a pretty good job recently where he was interviewed by Sports Illustrated saying that WWE is the best pro wrestling in the world and nobody can do what he does on any planet on any given night. He also recently got into a Twitter back and forth with Will Ospreay, Rollins also threw Jon Moxley under the bus pretty badly when he said that Dean Ambrose took his ball and went home. Everything that I have accumulated here, everything that I've reported here, everything that you already know of, to the 5-year contracts, to the just insane amount of money that WWE is handing out as far as these 5-year deals, WWE handing fucking penalties on top of existing contracts for asking for their release, superstars asking for their release, the talent right now walking on eggshells, remaining quiet so it doesn't happen to them because they want out and they want a new opportunity. Sasha Banks leaving WWE and going on a sabbatical or a hiatus or whatever you want to call it. And everything from WWE announcing on August 31st NXT UK Cardiff, and then the Evolve 10-year anniversary show next weekend in direct competition with Fight for the Fallen on the WWE Network, when they could have done it any month on any weekend. They decide on that specific day, on that weekend, in that time slot. All of it amounts to WWE being worried what AEW is going to do as far as competition. WWE is not worried about WWE is not worried about AEW in a sense that they're going to put WWE out of business. It's not going to happen. And I want to think, like I mentioned, that Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are talking about that aspect alone, but they're not. They're making it a competition. The more they come out and say AEW is not competition, the more you mention AEW in whatever interview you do, you're bringing awareness to AEW. If AEW wasn't competition, then you wouldn't go forth and mention AEW in any sense, in any interview. You wouldn't utter AEW in any breath that you take. But everything that WWE does has a direct effect because of the AEW effect. Is AEW competition? 100%. Don't believe anything that a contracted WWE wrestler is going to say in an interview. It's not true. You have your own ways of making assumptions for yourself. You have your own ways to find out the truth. You have your own ears and own eyes. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear. This is fact, folks. And it all starts with the latest breaking news. And I mentioned this time and time again in the last week and a half. If Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman got hired, if they got hired for their new roles on Raw and SmackDown, what does that mean? That means that AEW is competition. That means that's a move directly correlating with AEW. Sooner we get to October, WWE knew that they needed change. The change is coming in the form of Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. WWE is putting all of their hopes on them to make their shows better so that they can actively compete with an AEW quality product. There's no doubt in my mind that if AEW was not even a thing, if it didn't exist, WWE wouldn't be making strides to get better, and Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff wouldn't have new roles as executive directors of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. We would still be in the same boat where WWE loves to live in mediocrity. The shows wouldn't be getting better. We wouldn't be seeing strides for change. None of this would be happening. Why is it happening? Because AEW is competition for WWE. Please understand that. This is Off the Script, episode 281, part number 2. We got a lot more to go over. I got a lot more AEW news. News on Private Party, news on Fyter Fest, how well they sold. The very impressive numbers that Fyter Fest did on Fight TV. Big update on Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson re-signing with the WWE, but AEW's not competition. Big news on them, how long they signed for, how stupid they look. Braun Strowman's status on WWE TV, plans for Nikki Cross, and who's running 205 Live. All this plus so much more right here on Off the Script. Don't go anywhere. Right after the intro, we'll be right back.
Delete this man.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is episode 281. This is part number 2 for a very hot, humid, and sticky July 6, 2019. I know a lot of you guys are going to be watching the G1 Climax tonight. I, unfortunately, do not get Access TV. I love to watch. I will probably find some other way to watch. And if I'm doing anything as far as Off the Script tomorrow, I will probably talk about whatever I watched on that particular episode, so look forward to that. And I'm actually thinking about watching Slammiversary on Sunday night, and I'm very interested to see Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan, man. I've been following this thing on social media. I've been following what Impact has been doing with both, as far as their television program has kind of hinted at. I think it's great. And I love the fact that Sami is continuing to be Sami. He hasn't strayed from what we know and love of him. And Tessa is right there taking that shit 100%, man. I can't wait to see what they do together in a full-fledged match. It's going to be very interesting. So they are probably the main reason why I want to watch Slammiversary. So I might be watching that, and I might pull out a review for that on Sunday night. I am not completely sure. If you guys see it, then you'll know. But that's where my mindset is at right now. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, this is episode 281, part number 2. If you missed part number 1, class is in session, you fucking goons. Paul Heyman's influence was not what you thought it was on Monday Night Raw. Where's the real change, folks? Where's the real change? We go over it, 35 minutes of that hot open. I wrote down all my thoughts, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to unleash this shit on the podcast. Making sure everybody that came at me was rightfully just put down and wrong. And I love the fact that people come at me, man. You come at me, I am a stranger to most of you. This is my stance and my opinion on WWE. I have not strayed from that stance. You come at me, someone that you don't know on social media, I am going to come back and I'm going to attack. You attack a stranger online, you are going to get it right back at you. So be very careful what you wish for, man. I live to make people look like fools. That is my number one pleasure in life. So make sure you guys go and watch that. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT. NXT was fantastic this week. Adam Cole's championship tour, where he goes into Johnny Gargano's family's pizzeria, orders pizzas. We see this huge fucking scuffle with his parents, this disgruntled look on his father Frank's face, on his mother's face, the Wall of Fame, shamed by hanging an Adam Cole picture wearing the NXT title. He goes to a local school in Cleveland, delivers said pizzas to all the heavier students there and tells them to go home. You'll never amount to anything. Johnny's a liar. You'll never be a WWE superstar. I love it. It's great. It's great television. Go and check all that stuff out. As far as NXT, also Roderick Strong is my MVP of NXT for 2019, man. Another great match with Tyler Breeze amongst NXT news and rumors as well on that particular podcast. Go and check it out. Everything you need will be linked in the annotation that you see in the top right corner of the screen. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. I'd love to get my followers up on there. We need about 10,000 followers on there to be verified on Instagram. I'd love to get my stories to where you guys can see the link to the podcast. That's what I want to do. That's one of my goals this year, 10,000 followers on the gram. Twitter, you guys know, as always, I'm on there every single week giving my opinion on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and whatever else might be happening in the wrestling world. It's also a great way to keep up to date on the channel. If you guys want to get notified via Twitter, you guys can certainly do that and keep eyes on the channel through that means as well. Subscribe, turn on the bell, make sure you guys are notified of when I go live with an upload. And if you guys want to join the channel as well, you guys can certainly do that. Patreon.com/Shady from NY206. Completely optional. It's the only way to get exclusive content. Not available on YouTube. You guys get Off the Script early, but that right now is not happening this week due to the 4th of July holiday. I am recording day of. Usually I am a day ahead of my schedule. I usually do Thursday for Friday. This week it was all fucked up being that Thursday was 4th of July and I didn't do any recordings on the 4th of July. So I'm doing day of recordings. But you guys also get audio formats of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and any extras that go up during the week. Those formats. Those podcasts are not available in audio form on Spotify or iTunes, so you guys are the only ones to get that if you guys want to save data and take me on the go during the week, man. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And you guys know the deal with Harry's, man. Harrys.com/script. You're going to use our unique link to get your $13 trial value sets. I love the closeness of Harry's shave. I love the smooth glide of Harry's blades. And I love the low price of Harry's products. Join the 10 million who have tried Harry's and claim your special offer today by using our unique link, harrys.com/script. Harry's founders were just two regular guys like you and I. It's also good for the females as well. Please, if you're a female and listening to me, Harry's works just as good on you as it does us guys. Harry's founders were two regular guys tired of getting ripped off and paying for overpriced gimmicks, vibrating heads, flex balls, handles that look like a prop in a cheesy sci-fi movie. These are just some of the tactics that the leading brands have used to overcharge us for years. Harry's makes quality, durable blades at a fair price. Folks, it's just $2 per blade. To keep prices that low, they cut out the middleman. Harry's bought a world-class blade factory in Germany that's been making quality blades, some of the best razor blades in the world, for 99 years. They now can provide you a great quality blade at factory prices and a 100% quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, let them know, and they will issue you a full refund. JD, this sounds great. I've been looking for new blades. I've been looking for a new way to shave. How do I do it? What do I get? Harrys.com/script is all you need to know. What you're going to get? Handle with an easy grip. Choice of color is up to you. Orange, the navy blue, or the evergreen. 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade for a close, comfortable shave. Rich lathering shave gel that will leave you smelling great. And a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. If you're a man of business or if you're just traveling casually. If you're spending the night over your girl's house and you're going out on a Saturday night, taking her out for a night on the town, it's good in that situation as well. Listeners of my show can redeem their trial set by going to harrys.com/script. Make sure you go to harrys.com/script to redeem your offer and let them know that I sent you to help support Off the Script. Yesterday on the podcast, we talked about Paul Heyman's influence on Monday Night Raw and how it wasn't what you guys thought it really was at the end of Monday night. Paul Heyman's fingerprints were indeed on the show. It wasn't in the vein that you guys all thought. It was more of, I would say, positioning a talent here and maybe calling up a talent there and then sitting with Vince McMahon in Gorilla, just going over the show and conducting the show from where Vince McMahon sits. That does not mean that Paul Heyman's DNA was all over Monday Night Raw. Very minuscule. We went over that in part 1. Now, to add on to that, I got these other stories that we're going to start the podcast off with. His influence is going to be in the form of who he finds to be the next in line or who he finds to be WWE's greatest asset right now. Who WWE should be pushing on television, but right now is not. Or someone that they should be pushing and they're kind of wishy-washy on it, and he's going to put his seal of approval on said talent. Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that Ricochet is one of those guys being looked at as a top star. He's also mentioned Shayna Baszler as someone who is very high on Heyman's list. He says this, I quote, Heyman's high on Shayna Baszler, Heyman's high on Ricochet. End quote. He noted how Ricochet has been in 2 straight Raw main events, so it's clear that there are plans for Ricochet. One big reason why Ricochet is someone Heyman would want to push is that he is someone who can appeal to the teenagers, and Vince McMahon is well aware that the WWE product has not been connecting with the younger audience. Yeah, maybe Vince McMahon's vision has not been connecting with the younger audience, but Triple H has certainly been connecting with the younger audience. NXT is cool. Triple H knows what's in. Triple H knows the trends. Triple H knows what's hot. Triple H knows what talents to go after to bring into NXT to appeal to that audience that Vince McMahon is so out of touch with. That's why he's got Paul Heyman. That's where Heyman's influence is coming from, folks. That is where Heyman's influence right now is being showcased on Monday Night Raw. I believe it when Meltzer says Ricochet being in 2 straight main events is definitely something that is an influence from Paul Heyman. Shayna Baszler, just like Ronda Rousey, they're best friends. Paul Heyman loves Ronda. Ronda loves Heyman. Why wouldn't you put Shayna Baszler in that discussion just by default? Who wouldn't love Shayna Baszler? Shayna Baszler is one of the best female talents that they have on the main roster. She's legit. She's badass. She plays the role that she has been given perfectly. And she is an old school mind. She took to this very quickly. I remember when Shayna Baszler debuted in NXT, I didn't really think much of her, but she was one of the people in NXT that I kept a very keen eye on. And to see her grow has been absolutely outstanding, to a point where, honestly, she should have been called up to the main roster right now, but I understand why. Triple H wants to keep his hands on Shayna Baszler as long as he can. He knows what she and he knows what someone like that could do to the legitimacy of his women's division. And I'm surprised that Triple H has had a grasp on Shayna Baszler for this long. Usually, with NXT or someone who we kind of know is due for a call-up or, in my eyes, a demotion, that they get called up right then and there. We know. The fact that he's kept Shayna Baszler under his thumb for all this time, longer than he really should have, goes to show you that I would say timing is everything. And I would be very interested to know why Shayna has not gotten the call up yet. And from what I could surmise on NXT television, they want her in position to drop that title when it matters, because there really is nobody that could really fill her shoes. And Io wasn't that one either. It's got to be the right time. It's got to be the right place. It's got to be the right opponent. And I don't know what they're going with. Shayna could be, I would say, just like Johnny was Ciampa's, Shayna could be Candice's Ciampa. That's the way I see it. And I would love that. And I don't think anybody right now is better than Candice LeRae. A lot of people were saying that even before Bianca and Io got into the title picture. A lot of people were saying that when Kairi Sane was in the title picture. And here I am going off on NXT because it's so logical and so fun and it makes me fucking happy. You fucking idiots. Raw sucks. I hope Heyman and his influence is felt in this type of manner. Heyman knows talent. His record speaks for itself. I hope that him accumulating Paul Heyman guys in 2019 and, Paul Heyman girls in 2019 is a real thing. Because Heyman, I trust for talent. I think everybody's in the same boat as that. Now, one of the big reasons why Ricochet is someone Heyman wants to push is because he appeals to the younger audience. Yes, that's why he was so successful right out of the gate in NXT. NXT's live gate for live shows took a major increase with Ricochet being at the top of the card. That's not by coincidence, folks. He appeals to that audience. And with him being featured in this program with AJ Styles, I hope it results in the same thing. I've said it for years. Ricochet is going to be a top-tier talent if WWE allows him to be. He's going to be the next AJ Styles. As far as what he does in that ring. Great babyface. He's got all the makings for a top star if you allow him to do so. Meltzer also noted that the launch of AEW is also forcing changes on WWE because AEW is drawing in younger fans. But they're not competition. Right? Right, Mr. Reigns. Not competition. Continue lying to the overall general public. Meltzer also said he's a guy that can appeal to teenagers. That's the goal right now, to make those teenagers just forget about AEW, and this needs to happen before AEW gets on the air. End quote. Other names that may benefit from Paul Heyman being Paul Heyman guys: AJ Styles, Tommaso Ciampa, and Lio Rush. They haven't used Rush in many weeks, and Heyman could ultimately be his saving grace. These are names that Heyman has given high praise to on social media. That Ciampa note is very interesting. I think Ciampa is going right back down to NXT because he has unfinished business. It would make sense for him there. He didn't really lose the championship. So I think the right thing for him is to go back down to NXT and claim the title that, honestly and ultimately, he never lost. So that's the way they're going with that. I ultimately want to see him remain healthy. I want to see him have a long career after this injury. And I want to see him eventually make the main roster when Paul Heyman gets everything, hopefully, well, I don't want to jump the gun here, hopefully gets things trending in the right direction on Monday nights or Tuesday nights with Bischoff in charge for SmackDown Live. Speaking of Eric Bischoff, what is the backstage impression of Eric Bischoff's WWE return? Brad Shepard. Oh, JD, why are you talking about Brad Shepard, man? He's a clickbaiter. Brad Shepard reported that people were happy for Eric Bischoff in his new backstage role in WWE. The overall feeling is that it's a wait-and-see kind of attitude, depending on how much influence Vince McMahon actually allows Bischoff to have. He says, and I quote, internally, everyone was shocked at the Bischoff signing. They're happy for him. But believe the key will be, as I've talked about how much Vince is going to lean back and allow Eric and, of course, Paul to have on Raw control of the show. Eric has already been described to me as a sponge and inventive. End quote. I like that. A sponge. He's going to soak up everything he needs to know. He's going to know everybody inside out. He's going to know the direction of WWE TV and where he wants to take it with his creativity. I like it. We'll see. We'll see how much of that creativity gets showcased on television because SmackDown needs it just as much as Raw does. Oh, you mean Raw Light, JD? Yes, Raw 2.0. If you guys want to see a glimpse of what Monday Night Raw looks like at 2 hours, all you have to do is watch SmackDown Live on a weekly basis. It's no better than fucking Monday Night Raw. 2 hours. It's Raw Light. No more blue. It's red. Monday and Tuesday night. I can't tell the fucking difference. Still, to this day, I can't tell the fucking difference. Meltzer discussed the decision during Wrestling Observer Radio. The fact is that Bischoff has not been keeping up with WWE's product at all, so this will be a totally clean slate for Eazy-E. However, when he asked about why Bischoff was brought in, the reasoning isn't 100% clear except for one response. Bischoff said WWE, or actually Meltzer said of Bischoff, WWE's prices, as far as stocks go, are awful right now. They've lost $30 per stock unit in around 3 months. That kind of downward tracking needs to be stopped, so McMahon brought in Eric Bischoff to help investors have more faith in the company. This was all thrown under the bus yesterday. We debunked this rumor. We debunked this rumor of Bischoff and the stocks and why he was brought in for SmackDown Live to go to Fox Sports. It is Vince McMahon's hope that bringing in the face of WCW side of the Monday Night Raw will elevate confidence in the stockholders so the short telling will cease. Investors don't know pro wrestling like fans do, so they aren't aware of all the specifics in this situation. They only care about name recognition and the cash that is coming into the company. So the goal is that Eric Bischoff's name will help bring in more cash to the company's value. I don't think so. Clearly, if the ratings go up, then that means more people have eyes on the product and more people are coming to the shows and more people are watching, more people buying merchandise. So then, obviously, that does affect, and we talked about this yesterday, WWE's bottom line. The ratings don't have everything to do with the stocks falling, but they definitely have a factor on why they fell $30 to right now sit, I think, at $74 a share is what I mentioned yesterday, down from $99.25. That's a big fucking deal. That really is a big deal. So I am not really, us as wrestling fans don't give a shit about that. We just want the quality of the shows to be where they should be. With the talent that this company has on both rosters, there's no reason why SmackDown should be garnering 1.8 ratings. And Fox doesn't want that either. WWE didn't do it as far as the stocks go. WWE did it because they knew they were in some deep shit if they went into October with 1.7, 1.8 ratings. I'm going to say this, the stocks, yes, they do correlate, but they did it more so for two reasons. Fox, because they need to get their shit right, and they did it because of AEW, whether they wanted to keep Bischoff going to AEW or the AEW effect and they need to compete with what AEW's product is going to be giving us on a weekly basis on Wednesdays, rumored on TNT. It's all because of those reasons. Yes, the ratings and the merchandise and the live gate attendance and the pay-per-view numbers and all that shit. Yes, it does have an effect on the stock prices, but not in the way that you're thinking. So that's all these people give a shit about. They don't give a fuck about Eric Bischoff. They don't know who Eric Bischoff is or what he's going to bring to the table on SmackDown Live, nor are they interested in what he brings to the fucking table. This is more so for Fox and more so because of the AEW effect. Private Party, speaking of AEW, my boys in Private Party, Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, going to be one of the biggest tag teams in AEW as far as their division goes. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn are now full-time members of the All Elite Wrestling roster. Known as Private Party, they made their AEW debut Saturday night at Fyter Fest a couple of weeks back. They were offered a full-time contract immediately after the match. The news was first announced on the latest Being the Elite and then on social media by Matt Jackson. It says, and I quote, "Literally right when Private Party stepped back through the curtain after their match at Fyter Fest, Nick and I offered them full-time contracts. Star-making performances like that deserve to be rewarded." End quote, says Matt. Wow, what a business this is, folks. You go out there and make a fucking killing, and you got the world talking. You walk through Gorilla, and then you get new contracts offered to you with a raise. What a fucking time to be alive, man. Wow. What a fucking concept. Private Party's going to kill it in AEW. They had that crowd in Daytona Beach in the palm of their hand. You can imagine what that one appearance and one match is going to do for their stock as they get into October for the weekly TV show. I can't wait. Private Party is going to kill it. I'm happy for them. I've seen them grow with the 2 years that I've been with House of Glory, and I can't wait to see them and support them on a global basis here with AEW. Private Party is going to kill it. Believe me. Keep an eye on them. They are going to kill it. They deserve it. And that was probably one of the best matches of the entire night at Fyter Fest. Still stand behind that 100%. Speaking of Fyter Fest, how many AEW tickets were sold for Fyter Fest? Now, while there were some seats left unfilled in the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, this show reportedly drew 4,200 fans in the 5,000-seat venue, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. That's pretty decent. It's pretty fucking decent for a show that wasn't really advertised all that greatly, and a show that was in conjunction with a video game tournament festival happening. Fyter Fest was a different type of wrestling show that was in conjunction with the CEO gaming event. Alex Jabali and Kenny Omega are friends and helped coordinate the entire event. While the turnout does show AEW's drawing power, the fact it wasn't a sellout could be a sign that not all AEW shows will be destination events. The hope for Fyter Fest was that it would be a significant walk-up for those people to purchase tickets. However, the walk-up really wasn't all that significant. It was more of the BTE fan base. We'll have to wait and see how AEW will fare when they start running weekly buildings on Wednesday nights for their live TV show on TNT. It was noted that AEW is looking at running NBA arenas for their upcoming TV show, but that seems like a lofty goal. So that could be in the vicinity of 10 to 12,000 people per taping. I don't know if I'd go that deep yet. I would actually wait to get some momentum underneath myself and then try and do that towards the beginning of 2020. The belief is that a weekly television show will build popularity, and while that is definitely on the expectation list, the jury is still out on whether AEW will be able to draw fans on a weekly basis in a new city each time. You don't know if you don't try. And I honestly think that with destination events with Chicago and Las Vegas, fans came from all over the globe to just go to these events, and they were sold out in minutes. Double or Nothing, sold out in 30 minutes. All Out, sold out in 15 minutes. These are destination events. I honestly think with the proper build, with the advertisements running during the NBA games, with the hype that it's creating all over social media and all over YouTube, I honestly think if they stick to what they have been doing, 5, 6, 7,000 seat venues, that they should be fine. and you want to test the waters next year when you got some momentum and you got a product that people are knowing is going to deliver, then you can test the waters and do the NBA arenas like reported here by Dave Meltzer. But 4,200 people for an AEW event that really wasn't meant to be a destination AEW event is great. I think that's fucking fantastic. Now, the report says that the BTE fan base was the majority of the people sitting in the crowd. How many of those people realistically were there for the wrestling show only? How many of those people realistically were there just because AEW was in town in conjunction with the CEO event and really weren't wrestling fans? I don't know. That remains to be seen. We may never know the answer to that. But the fact that Kenny Omega thought that this was going to be a good marketing tool for AEW is clearly a success. This was clearly a success. He probably had the mentality that not only are the AEW fan base very similar to how he is, Kenny Omega's a geek in every sense of the word. I love that. He is into the video game thing. Everybody loves video games. The wrestling fan is probably an avid gamer. So you're going to really appeal to that type of audience. And if they didn't know of AEW, but they knew of Kenny Omega, maybe those people didn't know Kenny Omega was wrestling for AEW exclusively, and being that he is a gamer, and they didn't know of the product, now they're turned on to the product. This was not only a wrestling event, it forwarded storylines and was also a great marketing tool for AEW. It was not meant to be taken as a all-out. It was not meant to be taken as a pay-per-view. Yes, it was an AEW show. I don't consider it an AEW major event. I don't even I am actually going on record to say All Out is their official second show. These are in-between shows because they have no other way of building storylines. And with what they got going on, the storylines that they have going on for All Out need to take place in a wrestling ring. These are B-level shows. They're like what you see on Monday and Tuesday night with Raw and SmackDown. This is their version of Raw and SmackDown, but better. Because whatever Raw and SmackDown are doing right now is complete garbage. This was a lot better than what we got on Monday and Tuesday night. Forwarded storylines, it got us a little bit more excited and a little bit more in the know as far as direction goes for All Out. I thought it was great. It was a fun show. It was 3.5 hours. I didn't feel bored. I didn't feel like, sitting on my phone for the majority of the show. I was very invested in what they were doing because they were telling stories going into All Out. And selling 4,200 seats in a venue that was merely in conjunction with a video game tournament, that's a lot. I think that's a success. And for the people posting pictures of, empty seats here, empty seats there, those are just people waiting to shit on AEW because they have nothing else better to do with their lives. As if WWE's lining their pockets with fucking revenue at the end of the night. Bullshit. The building drew good. They drew even better numbers on Fight TV, on iPay-per-view. The Wrestling Observer newsletter know that Fyter Fest did 14,000 iPay-per-view buys on Fight TV. Those were for international fans who could not watch Fyter Fest for free on Bleacher Report Live. For the record, the international buys for Double or Nothing were around 20,000 on Fight TV. So for the fact that Double or Nothing did so fucking well in its inception, their first show ever, 20,000 buys on Fight TV, and Fyter Fest did 14,000, that's a fucking success, man. That's a success. If I'm the Bucks, if I'm Cody, if I'm Kenny, if I'm Tony, I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, that's fucking good. That's a good deal right there. The bigger numbers came from Bleacher Report Live. This is kind of obvious considering the fact that the show was broadcast for free over that streaming service. It is said that the 3.5-hour broadcast averaged 140,000 viewers on at any given time, with a total of 350,000 different viewers during the course of the live show, and those numbers likely increased significantly with the replay viewing. AEW Fyter Fest is still available for free on Bleacher Report Live. Therefore, those numbers will only increase at this point until they take it off the service. It was noted that 35,000 people signed up for Bleacher Report Live before Double or Nothing, but before Fyter Fest, the belief was that they would be signing up a lot more fans. And I quote, this is from The Observer. AEW and Bleacher Report Live had first talked about the idea of signing up more than 100,000 new subscribers to the channel, although after more input, the feeling was that the number would be higher. End quote. We will have to wait and see if those numbers remain constant. Fight for the Fallen is also going to be a free event for Bleacher Report Live sign-ups. that is only in North America. So it's going to be the same deal for the UK. I believe it's going to be $11.99 or $12.99 for you UK folk on iPay-per-view on Fight TV. So, I mean, I think it's going to be worth it. If I was to be charged here in the States, $12 is nothing I would willingly pay to watch this on stream here in the States. This is obviously not a bad start for AEW and could be a terrific gauge to see how many people are indeed going to tune into the debut this fall on TNT when they make their television debut for their weekly television show, man. So I think that's all great news. I think that's all great news for Fyter Fest and AEW. And for a company that's just starting up, this is good news. I don't know what else to say. So anybody putting this shit down is just merely doing it out of spite and out of hate because they don't know any better. Big update on Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson re-signing with the WWE. I don't know whether they're smart or fucking stupid, but I don't like this at all, and I actually lost a lot of respect for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and I honestly don't understand why they put their trust in WWE after the first 3 years of them being embarrassed. I would never come out here and outwardly say that nobody is allowed to make the money that they truly think that they deserve. I'm happy that they're making money. I'm happy that they can support their families and do what they got to do to live rich, fulfilling lives. But the simple fact is, the reason they took this money is for family alone. They have absolutely no respect for their professional wrestling careers, for the fact that they stayed with the WWE for 5 years after the first 3 have been nothing more than a complete waste of both of their times. Anderson and Gallows were pulled from the road because they did not re-sign with the WWE after they first delivered contracts for them to sign. They were $500,000 a year contracts. They were still on the table. Neither Anderson or Gallows put pen to paper on a new 5-year deal. Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are not leaving the WWE. He made this observation by the fact that the club is now back together. The club is back together as heels, so Gallows and Anderson are going nowhere. Yes, he says, they are going nowhere. End quote. Now the club is back together, and it appears that this was enough to convince them to stay. Dave Meltzer reported on the Wrestling Observer Radio that both Anderson and Gallows have taken WWE up on their new lucrative contracts. There was some thought that Anderson and Gallows might find their way back to AEW and work for their friends, or even go back to New Japan. However, they are not leaving WWE, so this newly reformed club with AJ Styles could have a lot more time to go in WWE as they continue on with whatever the company has in store for them. I don't necessarily like this as far as them taking this contract, because what has WWE done to make them believe that things are going to be on the right from here on out? It might be right now, and it's cool that they paired them back with AJ Styles. We still don't know what the plans are. Is WWE going to take a keen interest in rebuilding the tag team division? It's great if they do. Then it's better off for you to showcase why you're still one of the best tag teams in the world. But if not, why is that enough? Why is the club getting back together simply enough for you to sign your life to 5 years with the WWE? It's got to be more involved with that. It's got to be more on the line for the club there. I don't think these guys would have signed just for the club getting back together with really no fucking storyline or direction as of right now. They're feuding with Ricochet. Styles is feuding with Ricochet. What does that mean for Gallows and Anderson? Does it mean tag team title runs? Are they going to be perceived as a top-tier tag team? Like I said, is tag team wrestling going to be on WWE's radar? Are they going to take a focus in tag team wrestling? I don't get it. I don't get what this could mean for them after the first 3 years have been a complete waste of their time. This is not enough for them to sign with the WWE for 5 years, unless WWE is so great at negotiating new deals and they are very manipulative in their ways. They must have said something for Gallows and Anderson to convince them to stay. But WWE, right, is not in competition with AEW. $500,000 a year individually for both Gallows and Anderson is a lot of fucking money for guys just to sit in catering. So that must have been bumped up to $750,000, maybe close to $1 million a year for these guys. I don't understand it. I really don't get it. So they are with the WWE for the remainder of their wrestling career. I honestly don't understand. If I'm them, and I have people who know my value, I could take a smaller deal. Yes, it would be smaller. It's not going to be in the same vein as WWE. I could take a smaller deal, start a fresh slate, and be treated with respect and have some sort of creative freedom with guys who know us. WWE clearly doesn't know Gallows and Anderson. They're merely going off what they've done in Japan. It's not really their idea. So, do Gallows and Anderson trust WWE to book something that is not their own? Do they have some sort of creative leeway? Do they have some sort of creative in with their contracts? Are they able to pitch ideas? I don't know. That's going to rest on Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's an AJ Styles guy. Maybe Paul Heyman's influence could better what the club right now is doing on WWE TV. I don't know. There's so many different factors here. But the simple fact, from this one report, at first glance, I can't sit here unless things drastically change for these guys. The only thing that would make me retract my statement is WWE focusing on tag team wrestling. They should be at the head of their fucking class then. But at first glance with this report, I don't respect Gallows or Anderson for merely doing this for monetary gain. How much do they value? How valuable is their career to them? Yes, family is first, but at some point, you have to think about yourself as well. Clearly, you didn't think about yourselves as far as a creative standpoint with this new deal. You're not AJ Styles. AJ signed for 5 years. AJ's going to be fine. AJ's going to have another couple of runs as WWE champion. AJ's going to be a face of this company for the next 5 years. You guys are not. You guys are not. I hope whatever WWE put in that fine print, I hope WWE, whatever they put in that contract, was mind-blowing to a point where you couldn't turn it down. And I hope that is mind-blowing as far as a creative standpoint goes. This is just stupid. Really fucking stupid if you ask me. So they're staying with the WWE. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to go. Like I said, it all might rest on Paul Heyman. Make sure you guys go check out Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. They're another great friend of the podcast. Use our unique link at the bottom of the page there. audibletrial.com/offthescript. You guys are going to get 30 days free of their service, including one free audio book of your choice. All you have to do is the following. Go pick up your iPhone or Android device, whether it's a phone or a tablet. You're going to download the Audible app. It's absolutely free. You're going to use our unique link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. You're going to go through the sign-up process. You will not be billed at the end of sign-up. All Audible's going to do is put you in their system. You're going to get 30 days free of their service. And as a thank you for signing up, you're going to get one free audio book of your choice. You have over 200,000 choices to choose from, a lot of which are wrestling related, like you see there. Politics, cooking, romance, sci-fi. Everything you need as far as Audible goes, they got it. Sports included. Wrestling is a part of the sports category. Best part is, if you guys feel like Audible's not for you or you have no interest at all after signing up, you're going to get to keep your audiobook for free no matter what. You can cancel anytime and that book is yours. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Use our unique link, audibletrial.com/offthescript, and show them that you support Off the Script. Couple of minor stories before we get on out of here for part 2, guys. Some Monday Night Raw notes. Braun Strowman, I don't know if Monday Night Raw advertised Braun Strowman. I don't think they did. I don't know why they would after he went through the LED board on Monday night in a very generic spot, even though I did enjoy it. Same old shit as always. But Bobby Lashley went on record stating that he is going to downright kill Braun Strowman next time he sees him. But Braun Strowman might be out of action for a while. As you guys know, WWE did this huge spot on Monday Night Raw. Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley took the big bump through the entrance LED board. We've seen Pyro for the first time in forever on WWE television, an early look at 4th of July. Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE announcers were saying that Strowman might have had a busted spleen due to the fiery bump. Therefore, he might be taking a break from action. This actually works out nicely because Strowman is actually a little banged up anyway. Meltzer says this, and I quote, "They said Braun had a ruptured spleen. I would think if you would say that, then he's going to be action for a little while." End quote. Of course, Strowman's official diagnosis was a separated pelvis. That still might keep him out of action for a bit because the usual recovery time for that sort of injury is around 6 weeks. But depending on the degree of the injury, it might not even be that long. WWE wants all hands on deck for SummerSlam, and Strowman is definitely going to be part of SummerSlam. I honestly think him being away from television right now is beneficial to them so that he makes the recovery time in time for SummerSlam. Strowman and Lashley is the same old shit that we've been seeing. It's not exciting. Bobby Lashley in himself is not exciting whatsoever. Anybody that he's in the ring with is channel-changing garbage. They did this, and I stated this already, because they needed something for you to sink your teeth into for the majority of a 3-hour show that was primarily the same shit that we see every single week. They wanted to get this, and it was done pretty much tongue-in-cheek. They wanted to get the Paul Heyman era off to a bang. That's exactly what they did. And meanwhile, Paul Heyman's influence was really not seen on this show in the ways that you thought it was. So Strowman being off the show is not really going to be detrimental to the show anyway because he adds nothing of value to the show to begin with. So him being away, in my eyes, and in many people's eyes who are definitely straying away from Braun Strowman, it's not that big of a deal. You won't even know that he's gone. He actually might make the show better with him being gone. That's just the way I see it. He has no value to the show whatsoever. And another Strowman and Lashley match after this, I don't really find all that interesting to begin with. So, Strowman out. They said he had a ruptured spleen. He is recuperating now with a separated pelvis. There you go. What do you want me to say? He's going to be out. And if they want him to be ready for SummerSlam, he's got to be out for the 6 weeks to recuperate. WWE has big plans for Nikki Cross on Raw in her current storyline with Alexa Bliss. Nikki Cross came up from NXT, was pretty much non-existent, and then all of a sudden WWE finally figured out what to do with her. Change her from what we knew of her in NXT and pair her with the one person that she is the complete polar opposite with, Alexa Bliss. Ever since coming to the WWE, Nikki said she just wanted to play. Now she has somebody to play with in Alexa, and it could result in a big push for her. Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that this angle with Bliss and Cross is being done and set up to give Nikki a big push for the You Deserve It generation. Whatever the fuck that means. He says this, and I quote, "The storyline is that Nikki deserves it. The whole thing is to make Nikki into a big-time babyface. That's the goal here, to feud with Alexa. Essentially, Nikki is the role model, or actually, she is a role model, but essentially Nikki is the role, or in the role, that Bayley should have been in. But they completely botched that, and they couldn't go back to Bayley with it because it's just too far gone, and they've been there too long to go back to that role. So Bayley is in the new role that she's in, and Nikki Cross is now in the original role meant for Bayley." End quote. But it's the same storyline over and over again. This is pretty much Alexa Bliss playing Alexa Bliss, and this is the same storyline, pretty much, that Nia Jax was in when she was feuding with Alexa Bliss over the Raw Women's Championship last year. So it really is no difference to anything. I don't see why people are so ingrained in this storyline. Alexa Bliss is bullying, not really direct, and it's not really blunt and out there like she was bullying Nia Jax, but it's more subdued. She's bullying Alexa Bliss Alexa Bliss is bullying Nikki Cross, I should say. Alexa Bliss is bullying Nikki Cross, and Nikki is too dumb to realize it. Which in my eyes is not really making Nikki Cross stand out as smart, per se. She looks like a fucking idiot. Who wins the opportunity for a women's championship and is okay with winning that women's championship opportunity for somebody else and not yourself? You've been on the roster long enough that you should feel like you deserve an opportunity, and you are giving that opportunity, winning that opportunity, and giving it to Alexa Bliss. How stupid are you? So right out of the gate, I'm not for this storyline because it's illogical already. Who does that? Who does that? And the only way to perceive this woman is of an idiot. I don't find this to be interesting whatsoever. Alexa Bliss is not as capable of a heel like you guys think she is. She really is not. And her in-ring ability, they've put her back in the ring, and she's been as worse as I've ever remember. Nikki Cross is playing the role of Nia Jax, and it's nothing more than a rehashed storyline. And it's all leading to the very predictable, oh, Nikki Cross is finally going to come to. She's finally going to realize that Alexa Bliss has been bullying her and using her, and she's going to turn on Alexa Bliss, and then they're going to have a match that means absolutely nothing, and Nikki's going to be, in WWE's eyes, this big baby face. Then what do you do with her after that? It goes back to what we mentioned on Friday's episode of Off the Script. Paul Heyman wants long-term storytelling. What is the long-term storyline here? What is the end? What is the end game? Nikki Cross getting her revenge on Alexa Bliss for using her? If it doesn't result in Nikki Cross getting a women's championship, then what the fuck is the point? What is the story after the story? That's what WWE should be writing right now. Because the end of this, we know what's going to happen. We want to know what the fuck Nikki Cross is going to do after Alexa Bliss. Or in typical WWE fashion, they just won't end it, and they'll continue this fucking bullshit because they don't have a creative bone in their body. That's what more than likely is going to happen. I don't give a shit about it. Nikki Cross, to me, is not the Nikki Cross I remember. This woman was white hot in NXT, and you completely killed all of that and paired her with something that is totally not Nikki Cross. You had a white hot woman coming up from NXT in the old version of Nikki Cross. If this version does not turn into that version after all this is over, then what's the point? I don't get it. This is a woman that took Asuka to the brink of defeat while Asuka was undefeated in NXT. And you mean to tell me you couldn't do anything with that version of Nikki Cross? A woman who wanted nothing more than to fight, nothing more than to cause chaos. You turned her into a sniveling idiot who is being used and manipulated by somebody. Meanwhile, the old version of this character would have never even associated with a single individual, period. You want a new Riot Squad? She should have been in the Riot Squad with Ruby Riott. That's who should have been in the Riot Squad. You want a new version of it? You want a fucking tag team? You get Ruby Riott back, you get the old Nikki Cross back, and you pair them together, then you got a legit tag team right there. I don't know why WWE just doesn't have fun with the fucking characters they have, and they give us these rudimentary fucking generic garbage recycled storylines that we seen of 2 years ago, and it wasn't even interesting then. I don't get it. Nikki Cross, to me, too little, too late. They already dropped the ball on her booking. I don't think WWE is going to get Nikki Cross to a point where they expect her to be as far as fan reaction goes. Speaking of fan reaction, R-Truth is the most popular champion, or was the most popular champion, in all of WWE. I'm sure he'll be another 9-time, on top of the 9 times he is already, 18-time, 24/7 champion. He's the most popular champion in WWE with the 24/7 title. Now, when Mick Foley unveiled his championship, I still think this way. I knew it was not going to be of any value. It's still of no value. It's nothing more than a fucking joke and a comedy. It should stay on social media. It should be off of the TV shows under the new initiative of Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. Simple as that. WWE.com had a survey up asking fans who's the most popular champion in the company, while R-Truth was still the 24/7 champion before Drake Maverick went on his honeymoon and pinned R-Truth in the back for the title on Raw. The votes were spread out all over the place. R-Truth won with 24% of the votes, and Seth Rollins only pulled in 23% of the vote. Kofi Kingston and all the other champions, Becky Lynch and Bayley, were also on the list. So R-Truth beat out all of WWE's singles champions right now in this poll. Now, R-Truth has been in the company since 2008, and he's finally on top as far as popularity goes. This is probably the most popular that R-Truth has ever been in his entire run in WWE, which is good for him. He might not have the most prestigious title or be vying for the most prestigious title, but fans seem to be caring more about him than they do all the other so-called important things on the main roster. I'm happy for him because, and I'm not surprised by the fan reaction to R-Truth, because what he does is how R-Truth would act away from the camera, and the fans know that. The fans see how genuine R-Truth is, and that genuine nature of R-Truth is actually correlating, I would say, with the fan base. They see that realness, they see that genuine feel to R-Truth, and it's not something that is forced. It's not something that's produced or manufactured. And the fans know that. They realize that. And that's why they take to R-Truth so well. I'm happy for R-Truth. I have no problem at all with R-Truth. I have a problem with the fucking title being on TV in 3 segments when you got 60% of a roster not getting TV time. It was not meant for the rest of the roster to get TV time. It was meant for the rest of the roster to be treated like a fucking circus. It's getting R-Truth TV time. I don't give a shit about Drake Maverick. But if it makes R-Truth into a bigger superstar than he is right now, then great. Just keep it off of TV. That has no business being on TV. I said it then, I'll say it now, and I'll say it every time I see it. It doesn't belong on TV. Especially with WWE needing to get serious and needing to be more of a sports-like directed product like AEW. You're not going to have fucking VIP catering guys running through the crowd time and time again every single week chasing a fucking title that means absolutely nothing. Come on. We can do better than that, and we can present better quality as far as the TV shows. Speaking of quality TV shows, 205 Live is some of the best wrestling on WWE TV. But 205 Live and the Cruiserweights, that air every Tuesday night after SmackDown Live on the WWE Network. Yeah, they have a ton of talent. They got a great roster, great TV show, but they are struggling right now when it comes to securing viewers. Who's actually booking 205 Live? Is it Trips? Is Triple H running 205 Live? The Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that Adam Pearce is actually the one in charge of 205 Live. His ability to form those matches is obvious due to his time in the ring with Ring of Honor and other indie promotions. With someone needing to be able to understand the psychology that it takes to put on one of the cruiserweight matches before can only be properly booked by someone who knows the mentality of said cruiserweight. It appears that Adam Pearce has all of the tools needed to pull this job off. Brad Shepard is reporting that, and I quote, "I am told 205 Live will likely be discontinued by the end of the year." End quote. Now, that is not confirmed at all. Take that with a pinch of salt. It would make sense to cancel 205 Live. In fact, I would. And if the worst case scenario is to cancel them and the only saving grace is to maybe move them somewhere else, move them on Wednesdays. Move them to Wednesdays, move them to Full Sail, and have them be a part of the NXT brand. Simple. Or if you want, with the new directive of Raw and SmackDown, have 205 Live and the Cruiserweights, get rid of 205 Live and have the Cruiserweights be a floating brand on Raw and SmackDown. Get them in front of the Raw audience, get them in front of the SmackDown audience. This is what needs to happen. I'm telling you right now, with Heyman and Bischoff in charge, there needs to be an identity for Raw and SmackDown. There needs to be a stance on the brand split. 2 separate brands, 2 separate identities. The main events and the mid-card of both Raw and SmackDown are supposed to be separate. The women, as far as the tag team titles go, because the tag team titles open Pandora's box, the women should be serving as floaters between Raw and SmackDown. Same thing goes with the tag team titles. Same thing goes for the cruiserweights. Now, this could be easily just integrated into the shows. You don't need to feature every fucking person every single week. Have the matches mean something. Have a defense here and there. You got all these teams, and you can have them float between brands. Or if there are enough tag teams, you could definitely separate the divisions and have 6 or 7 teams per division and really make it mean something. But you have to focus on tag team wrestling for it to really fucking make sense and for it to really work. Now, the floating idea only makes sense because WWE uses maybe 30% of their fucking tag teams. That's the only reason why I say it. But if you really put a focus on the fucking tag teams, put a list of tag teams on paper that you actually got, separate them to each brand, you have your own tag team divisions. But if you're using only 30% of your tag teams, this is why I say make the tag team titles float. I hope that's not the case. I want a real stance on a brand split. The cruiserweights, being that there's only 10, 11 guys on the roster, you can float them between the brand. You can float them between Raw and SmackDown. Same thing goes with the women. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. You really have to have rules in place. And I don't understand why they don't have fun with it. The wild card rule needs to fucking go. But if 205 Live is getting canceled, which I don't think it is, because why? where WWE want to take an hour of television off the WWE network. It merely is used as just an hour of filler, and WWE has stated that. It's an hour of TV that we put on the network. But if it's not generating viewership, it's not generating interest, take them off of Tuesday nights on SmackDown Live and put them on Raw and SmackDown and have the title float between the two brands and make them a part of the main roster. 205 Live is clearly not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's not doing what WWE intended it to do, because WWE fucking killed it before it even had a chance to reinvent itself and recuperate from the damage that was already done. I don't think 205 Live should be a thing. And one of the main things is, if you're watching SmackDown for 2 hours and you're so disgruntled by SmackDown Live, who the fuck is going to want to watch another hour of 205 Live? If you're there in the audience and you're watching SmackDown Live and you're so fucking pissed off, why are you going to want to remain in that seat for another hour and watch guys that you don't really know, or an hour of TV that the kids don't know or have any interest in? Get these guys on Raw and SmackDown. It would probably be better for their individual stocks than keeping them in a bubble on 205 Live. That's all I could say. But I don't think Brad Shepard's report is necessarily 100% accurate. I have not heard that it's going to get canceled or discontinued. And if it does, I'm not going to be shocked and I'm not going to be saddened. Because I honestly think there is life after 205 Live. And if WWE really cares about the talent that they have on that show, put them on Raw and SmackDown. It's simple. I think that type of match and that type of talent could really get over. And I think that type of talent and what they bring to each show is really the breath of fresh air that we really need. That's what it was intended to do when they first introduced the cruiserweights. Go back to that, but this time, put more of a focus on it and really mean it. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much for all your support right here on Off the Script. I will be back tomorrow. I got news. Don't go anywhere. Dolph Ziggler back with the WWE full-time. Why? And what came to that decision? Kevin Owens turned babyface. Why? What is he going to do as a babyface? Sasha Banks news. She's in talks with WWE about a return to Raw. What this means and what this means for Sasha Banks. Sheamus is back on the road with WWE. And Vince McMahon could reportedly have an incentive to take the title off of Kofi Kingston. How? Why? When? I don't know. But it could include a Big E heel turn. So we'll talk about that as well. Thank you guys so very much for joining me right here on the podcast. Follow me on social media at JD206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you want to join the channel, become a member, do that as well. Right next to the subscribe button, hit the join button. Patreon.com/JD206. Completely optional. It's a great way to support the show and the podcast. Make sure you guys do that. And it's the only way to get exclusive content not available on YouTube. Harrys.com/script. Audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go and check out both of those fine sponsors. And check out this week's videos on the channel. Link is in the annotation that you see in the top right corner of the screen. I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much. Stay cool. Have a cold beverage. I know I'm going to. Enjoy your Saturdays, and I'll be right back here on Sunday with more Off the Script. Until then, enjoy your Saturdays, and I'll talk to you guys later.